What's up, boys? So, currently, right now, my friend is in a tournament, and I'm gonna be recapping his games. Basically, trying to do it daily every time he does a game, just so he can look at it and maybe it might help him, maybe it might motivate him. But currently, right now, he's in the, I believe, European Amateur Championship 2022, and a lot of great players are in that tournament, and definitely he's trying to get to the 2000 FIDE rating. Right now he's around 1900 FIDE. Um, who I'm talking about is Michael from Chess Lifestyle. So he's actually a YouTuber. You guys should subscribe to him. But without further ado, I'll be showing you the first game, and add some backstory with this game. So Michael is black, and before his tournament, before his game, he was so excited that like the whole night he was playing like Bullet and Blitz till 4 a.m., which is not something you should be doing before your tournament. And when he came, he was already exhausted. And what he did, he prepped against his opponent, which was for Knight of 3 and the London system as well. And unfortunately, his opponent played e4. And now everything he prepped was just out of the window. And now he was just going to go play for the Caro-Kann. So we get into the exchange, and then we go into the Panov. Now, there's a few variations that you can play. You can play the most solid line, which is e6. Well, after knight of 6, e6. Which is by far the most solid line, but you have to be defending the whole time. Possibilities of maybe even bishop d3 and bishop d2. It's just very passive, and something you don't really want to play against an opponent that's 2100 in FIDE. There's another line where after knight c3 you could play g6, and if you play if he does c takes d5, you don't take right away. You actually play bishop g7. Sorry about that, guys. That's my dog. He's being cute. Bishop g7, and basically you say, okay, you have doubled pawns and they're both isolated, and this pawn doesn't need to move. So there's no fear of losing, of being down upon. It's not really felt. And one of my favorite ones, which not a lot of people know, is actually d takes c4, bishop takes c4, queen c7. Now queen c7 is actually a little trap. So bishop b3, and now I play bishop g4. Sorry about that. Bishop g4, and here you just hang a bishop and then you resign, except the bishop on c1 is hanging. So after bishop g4 is played, f3 can be played, and now bishop d7. Other moves like bishop check on b5, bishop d7, and we want to trade bishops because the bishop pair in an open position on an attacking player's side is beneficial. So white does not want to trade his bishops because white's the one attacking, and black's going to be the one defending. So you don't want to trade bishops, so bishop d7 or bishop b5 check would not make any sense. So that's why bishop b3 is main line, and bishop g4 is something you can play. So after f3, bishop d7, knight e2, and you notice that he has taken away his knight that could have went on f3 a little bit more to a more passive square, which is e2. And what we're going to do, we're just going to play e6, possibly play bishop e7, knight e6 and castle, and we're just going to play for this type of position where this is an isolated pawn. We can wrap around it and bring our knight over and just try to win it and win the game. But what Michael did, he plays another line, which is a little bit more aggressive, which is knight c6. And it tends to be a little bit more aggressive just because you're trying to develop your queen side before you develop your king side without castling. And this is exactly what he does. So he develops all his queen side material before he develops his king side. And after pawn takes, knight takes, bishop c4 and e6, bishop b4. And here I would recommend two moves, either castling or knight takes to e3. And knight takes e3, why would people ask that? Was because the bishop pair is really, really strong in these types of positions, and I usually recommend to play these types of moves. But what Michael does instead, which I believe wasn't really principled, was queen f6. And what he was looking at, he considered that after castles, bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, knight takes e3, pawn takes, and knight takes d4. The thing was, after pawn takes, queen takes, and you win a bishop. But instead of doing that, he plays queen f6. And bishop e2, bishop f5. And now here again, another move that's like, I don't understand why he's doing this. I always teach my students that when you're developing all your pieces, make sure you only touch it once. So unless it's getting attacked, don't move your pieces more than once. So what you notice is that the bishop went all the way to g4, and now it went to f4, f5. And here, if I were to turn on the engine, it would say -1. So black here is actually up a pawn, theoretically speaking. But after bishop to f5, it's all equal. If you can see the evaluation bar just change or dip, as you can see that. And it's because he didn't castle. Knight takes to c3, and now the reason why Michael did this was because he thought he saw a trap with bishop a3 and rook a1, and he thought he trapped the rook. The idea was that after bishop b2, queen to b3, bishop takes, queen takes, forking, castles, and now queen takes c6 and bishop to b2. And this is what he saw. And he thought that he would be up the exchange, which is correct. But the thing was, his opponent does a brilliant move, which is rook b1, which is something I wouldn't even see either. The idea was that we're gonna win this bishop, and after the bishop moves, we're gonna win another piece. So we just lost 2 pieces, the bishop and the knight, for the rook, which is not a good exchange. And here Michael tries to trade queens with queen g6. Obviously, white, being very principled, doesn't do that because he's an attacking player. He's the one attacking, dictating how the game should go. So he shouldn't be trading pieces, even though he's up material. After queen c2, bishop a6, rook b8. Now queen takes, and now this was a move that I didn't like. Queen takes a2. The thing is, Michael has to really focus on this diagonal. This diagonal is very key because if this bishop lands on d3, it's going to be very, very difficult to defend. Bishop d3, move like g6, knight g5 could be an answer. Even knight takes f7, or even knight takes h7 in the future if the queen was away from that. Also, even playing g6, bishop to h3 or h6 can be a big problem for black. So Michael evaluated that position, and after bishop d3, f5 is unfortunately forced to be played here, and he plays g4. And now Michael plays queen d5, attacking the knight on f3. Now he defends, and now Michael thinks he found a tactic where f4, bishop takes, and the idea behind it was actually rook takes, queen takes, and after rook f8, we're skewering the queen. But the problem is after queen e4, you can't just take the knight, because after queen takes on h7, king f8, we probably have bishop e4, which is a fork between 2 pieces, which would not be a good trade. And him seeing that, he notices that he has to bring his rook to the second file. And after knight to g5, this is a very, very hard position. And black has to trade pawns. So instead, he instead of playing h6 or g6, which would be detrimental to his position, he just trades the d4 pawn for his h7 pawn. Bishop takes, king h8, and now bishop to e4. And now Michael has to give up a piece. And sorry, people are texting me. So now Michael has to give up a piece because the threat is actually queen h4, king g8, and queen mates. So what Michael does, he does bishop takes f2 because he's forced. Rook takes, queen check to get out of the pin, or not the pin, the attack from the bishop. Now king to h2. Rook takes f2, queen takes f2, and the problem is there's still a problem with this move. Now he tries to run away after king to g8, Maybe a possible move could have been like um very very difficult to find something. Maybe even like possibly maybe this rook to f6. The problem is even queen check, and then you go here, but you still have knight forks, so it's just not enough for anything. So basically, everything's dead lost here. And after king g8, he does bishop h7, and then bishop c2, which is a phenomenal move. If you move the queen, let's say here, then you have queen check on h4, king goes to g8, and queen h7 mate. And that game concluded, and it is heartbreaking to see one of my friends like lose just like that, where I definitely think he's a lot more of a stronger player than what he showed in that game. And it all stemmed off of, I think I felt like he was a little too excited. He was a little bit too jumping on the gun, where he has to understand that you got a castle. You got a castle. Bishop f5 is not a good move. You should not be playing things like that. And I know him and how he teaches chess. So he would definitely yell at his students saying, why would you do this move? Why would you play bishop f5 where you should just castle and follow principles? And that's something I think that Michael should be working on. I think he just needs to calm down. I think he just thinks he's a little too I think it's the insecurity of like really really good players, such as like a 2100 FIDE player, and you just feel like you need to prove something right off the bat. You just play calm chess, think about what you're playing, and make sure that it's just simple chess. You don't have to play so complicated. But yeah, this is basically a video for Michael, and I mean whoever watches, thank you for watching, and make sure to subscribe to Chess Lifestyle if you guys are interested in his content, because I definitely am. He's a great guy. But yeah, you guys have a great day.